victimized by our own government. One man who they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
So look, you can't undo the damage. The Trump slump is upon us now. And whatever he will try to do in the future does not undo the damage. The amount of money people have in their pockets and their livelihoods on something as vital as this, yes, it leaves you agape at what he is doing and how much damage he is causing and how little he cares. So the American people, Trump sold them a bill of goods when he was running. They're very quickly getting wise to him, and we're seeing that in how the American people are reacting to Trump. I think a lot of them are feeling that Trump is betraying them.
Look, the fact that he's pausing these tariffs says that he didn't really have a plan. It's like a rolling of the dice and a crapshoot. And where's the plan? What is the goal here except to create a lot of chaos, uncertainty, and fear? And that's what's happening.
Do you hear that they could be re-implemented if these countries don't commit to?
Look, if he really wants to have a plan, one uses tariffs in a much more focused way, not the way he's doing it. Like, 100 countries, sure, why not? He just wants to extort what he can from countries, from law schools, from universities, from law firms. That's what he does. Extortion.
My conclusion is that there's only one explanation for this: corruption. The Trump administration is now bragging that dozens of countries are approaching the White House ready to offer concessions and negotiate a reduction in Trump tariffs. This presents a completely unprecedented opportunity for corruption. If his tariffs are allowed by Congress and the courts to stand, then the president could unilaterally decide to remove or reduce tariffs on certain countries.
Wait a second. If these tariffs are allowed by the courts to stand? Oh my gosh. Let me just tell you. We ended just about 2 hours ago, and in that 2 hours I walked the dog, hung out with the wife, had some dinner, and decided, okay, what am I going to talk about this evening? Because as I've told you, I've got the Miranda interview set already in the tank here. And I have Pam Bondi's press conference, which I think is interesting enough to show you as well. And then I said, oh my God, what are these people doing? It makes no sense whatsoever. I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little hoarse, but I've been talking this is about my 5th hour. And I realize, I've said many times, these people have nothing. I mean, nothing. And now they're just adrift. They have no idea. They are misery seekers. They are misery multipliers. You need to stay away from them at all costs. And I know you guys don't watch MSNBC, and I know you don't look out for these things, so I thought I would show them to you tonight. But I'm showing them to you good-naturedly. I'm showing them to you so that you can sit back, whether you've got some iced tea or your favorite other kind of beverage, and you can sit back and just laugh at these morons. Because what I'm going to show you, I'm going to walk you through, and I'm going to prove to you that all they have is misery. Mazie Hirono saying that Donald Trump doesn't know how to use tariffs. Mazie, what have you done in your entire life? Chuck Schumer, oh, these people are going to be so upset. Chucky, not sure you're paying attention. Only people in misery are the Democrats. Nobody else is in misery. And I mean that with the purple hairs and everybody else with the nose rings and whatever you guys have. And so I don't want you guys to be upset and go, Barry, I can't stand this. No. You need to hang out. It's not going to be painful at all. It's a comedy show. I didn't have time to put a laugh track down. Otherwise, I would have done that as well. I do have my baby crying, which we will use. But this is incredible. And for something like this to happen, they thought about this. Remember, as you're about to see this, none of this stuff happens in a vacuum. This is completely orchestrated by, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, insert stupid Democrat here. And all they did is make themselves look stupid. And then the last clip I'm going to show you, you realize that not only are they making themselves look stupid, but they have no mirrors in the bathrooms, and they have no mirrors at home. There's no way they could say this stuff and still be able to look in a mirror. So without further ado, let me introduce you to tonight's comedy show.
No transparency. A country could pay the president or his family money through memberships at Mar-a-Lago or payments through their various cryptocurrencies in exchange for a reduction in tariffs.
Okay, so I think they had a bucket, and in that bucket, let's say, what kind of outlandish crap can you say? Oh, the reason President Trump is doing tariffs is so that he can offer people memberships to Mar-a-Lago. She just said that. A sitting member of Congress just said that Trump put tariffs on people so that he could offer them memberships at Mar-a-Lago. If you didn't know it was on tape, you would not have believed me. Oh, but it gets worse.
Comes in and basically starts the dumbest trade war in the history of this country. This is going to be about potentially millions of people losing their jobs.
Millions.
It's going to be about millions of people losing their savings.
Millions.
People losing their retirement security.
Millions.
And at the same time, taking on even higher costs for everything they buy. So that's going to push us in potentially to foreclosures or people being pushed out of their apartments. I remember this from 2008 and how long it took us to dig our way out. And to this day, there are families, there are communities that still haven't recovered.
She would know all about 2008 and foreclosures. Why would she know about it? Because just like me, she was a real estate investor, and she was buying foreclosures in 2008. But somehow, Jen Psaki didn't seem to ask her that. Hey, well, Miss Warren, Senator Warren, how do you know what happened in 2008 and he's going to push people to foreclosures? How exactly do you know that? Well, I made millions buying foreclosures and selling them, Jen. Nope, somehow that didn't come up in the conversation. You didn't want to let people know that you were the vulture that you say everybody else is. Go look it up. She bought foreclosures and resold them. She didn't do, as good as I did, but she sold foreclosures. You can't make this stuff up. I'm serious.
Solutions can be all those fancy charts and graphs, but at the end of the day, people feel them one person at a time, and they can be devastating.
It's still, I think, too much euphoria relative to where things stand.
You Republicans and maggots are too happy. There's too much euphoria. Oh, for where things stand. Where do they stand, Shirley? Pretty much, they stand right next to your head where there's a 2,500 point surge where everybody saw things go up, 10, 15, 20%. Where millions were made today, literally millions, nearly tens of millions, maybe billions, depends on how much people bought in. But it's an undue euphoria. People shouldn't be happy about making money. Oh, gosh.
First of all, we still have a 10% tariff on virtually all of our trading partners, at least, much higher than that, of course, on China. We still don't have a way out of this. We still don't know what exactly Trump is demanding from these other countries that are apparently calling him nonstop. And how do you negotiate with someone who doesn't actually know what they want? What kind of concessions can they even offer? He can't articulate.
How do you negotiate with someone who doesn't know what they want? I don't know how the hell put you on air when you don't know what you're talking about. Everything you just said there was a lie. You have no idea, Shirley, what President Trump is looking for. You know why? Because he ain't going to tell you. You know why? Because you're pablum speaking. Nobody cares what you're saying. You are a joke. You're on MSNBC trying to somehow pontificate to even people who know less and tell them that Trump does not have any idea what the hell he's doing. And people shouldn't be happy today that they made money. You have a false sense of euphoria. You see what they're doing here? These people, what they're saying, with no equivocation, is they hate you. They hate that you may have found some, prosperity today, that you may be happy, that you may have enjoyed some success today, that you may be looking forward to tomorrow instead of sulking in a room someplace going, oh, woe me. Oh, what did the orange man do now? Oh, my goodness. Because that's where they want you. They want you upset in a fetal position somewhere. Looking forward to the day, seeing promise in America, thinking that your president is doing the right thing. Oh, no. We need to squash that.
What the objectives are, or what he wants them to give up, what these other countries should give up in exchange. So I see some relief, but I don't understand why we have seen this much euphoria at this point anyway, given that we're still worse off. Companies are still worse off than they were before so-called Liberation Day.
Question.
You should have stopped your statement and put a period after understand. I still don't understand. That would have been it. That's all you had to say. I still don't understand. Because that's really what's going on here. You can't understand why people would be euphoric? You can't see that? You're worried because we still have a 10% tariff on these other countries. You don't care that some of them have 200% tariffs on us? Oh no, we want you Americans to be miserable. We want you Americans to be bowing down to the altar of other countries. How dare we put 10% on anybody? How, who the hell do we think we are as America that we can put 10% tariff on some country? Oh, it's ludicrous. It's absurd. It's fake euphoria. The money that you made today or the promise that you gained is all fake and should be taken away from you.
How do these roll out? You did not set, as our trade representative, the tariff rates on all of these countries that were on display when the president announced them, right?
Senator, the president made a decision on how he wanted to have the tariff set, and the economic cabinet advised him on that.
Right, but you did not set like the 50% rate on Lesotho.
I personally didn't, no.
Yeah, can you explain how that makes any sense?
So the way that the methodology works is the emergency we're talking about is premised on the trade deficit, which we think is well, I'm trying to explain the methodology, Senator, if you want to hear it.
This has got to.
I forgot to put my mic on, so that's my fault. He asks him a question. The guy gives him the answer. He doesn't like the guy's answer because it's not the answer he wants to hear. This isn't how it's supposed to work. Well, actually, let me tell you how it's supposed to work with deficit. You need to, it doesn't make any sense. Of course it doesn't make any sense. You're a Democrat congressperson. Of course it doesn't make sense to you. All you've done is shuffle paper. None of this makes any sense to you. I mean, just listen to this guy.
Yet concrete, because this has real impacts on everyday people. So the rhetoric about what the goals are when the rollout is so in conflict with achieving anything other than economic downturn.
That's all it's going to do. Everything that Trump is trying to do is cause economic downturn. That's all it is. Don't you people understand? There is no goal here. All these other 75 countries that are coming to meet with Trump, they're all brainwashed. Everyone in the world is gaslit except for us here, Democrats. Those people in these countries don't know what's going on. They think he's got some sense. He has no clue. Seriously, that's what they're saying.
How did the 50% rate on Lesotho be decided?
So when you have White House economists who assess the trade deficit.
But you had no role in it?
Well, I certainly had a role in it. Everyone was advising the president on how to do this.
Tell me why I came up with 50% for Lesotho.
Well, I'd like to tell you, Senator. So when you look at a country's trade deficit, we believe that captures some of the unfairnesses, and you have to have a uniform methodology. You can't be arbitrary or capricious.
I'm going to keep going because Lesotho does diamonds in,
I don't like your answer, so I'm just going to keep going. Can you please shut up so I can make my point? I might be on MSNBC tonight, and I have to look good. So shut up so I can make my point, because you're talking way over my head here at this point.
I'm happy to talk more to you about the methodology.
There is, my sense is there is no methodology. I asked ChatGPT, and basically they came up with...
You're talking to an economist, an economic advisor, and you don't like what he's telling you, and he works with President Trump, and you just told the world, just so you know, you just told the world, I'm such a moron, I went and asked ChatGPT. He actually said that in an open hearing on camera for the world to see, for you all to see. I mean, what the hell are we doing? What is wrong with our government?
Some formula.
Well, that's not true.
Well, here's how it looks. Donald Trump just got fed up and said, what the heck, we'll just go with this formula that makes no sense.
What Trump is doing is...
To who? This is how it looks, just to let you know. It looks like Donald Trump didn't have any idea what he did. He just made it up and said, let's try this. Who does that look like it to? Wow.
It's a huge opportunity for China worldwide. These tariffs are a form of economic illiteracy. Trump has no idea really what he's talking about. He doesn't understand how tariffs works. He has said as recently as a few days ago he views trade surpluses and deficits as like a profit and loss statement, which they...
Remember the guy they're talking to, besides being now a politician, besides now being president or the former president. Forget that. Forget all of that. They're talking John Bolton, who's done nothing in his life, Anderson Cooper, who's done nothing in his life, and this other journalist from CNN, who's done nothing in their life but type, are telling somebody who is one of the most successful real estate developers in the world that he doesn't know anything about the economy. Just let that sink in. Sometimes I think they forget they're not talking about a politician who's been there like them. They don't realize that this isn't a guy who's made his living sucking off of America by being a politician and doing some insider trading, that he's actually built things. Big, tall things. Tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars of budget, and they want their viewers to believe that this guy has no idea what he's talking about. And if you remember, because it's on Oprah and recordings from 20, 30 years ago, when he was talking about tariffs back then. But now all of a sudden, now that he's president, he forgot all of his business acumen when he got sworn in.
They certainly are not. So what he's doing has put us in a very vulnerable position, and probably in the worst position possible to go after the real country problem in the international trading system, which is China. Instead of taking on the country that's stolen our intellectual property for decades, among other things, by gathering our allies together, all of whom also suffer from China's intellectual property theft, and engaging in concerted action, we're at war with our largest trading partners while we're about to go to war with China as well. It simply makes no sense, and it's just sad and depressing that more Republicans haven't stood up and said that. This is illiteracy.
Are you? So you understand what's going on right now, because you can see this picture. These people have lost all control. They've lost all hope. John Bolton, he lost his security clearance. He can't see inside anymore and know what's going on. He's been cut off and banished from the kingdom. And all they see is everything that they have been using as a deep state to line their own pockets. They're like, oh my God, what is he doing? Oh, he's destroying us. Piece by piece by piece. Yeah, you're starting to feel that heat, John Bolton, aren't you? How many of these things were you involved in trying to take down other countries and how to hurt America? Be worried, be concerned, all of you, because one of the things I firmly believe, and I hope, and I am going to pray, is that Americans start opening their eyes and realize what you're looking at are people who hate you. These people should be happy. All of them. Hey, listen, the stock market was down for a couple days, and we didn't know if we were going to pull out of it. We thought it was going to be Black Monday all over again, and thank God it pulled out, and many people were made whole, and maybe we can get back on the road to prosperity. That's what I would like for all Americans, and you know what? I hope President Trump is successful in this. Nope, you don't hear that. You don't hear any of that. In fact, what you're hearing is just the opposite. We're going to investigate and see, what the hell happened here. And we're going to investigate and see if you even have the authority to do tariffs. We're going to try. What? What? You got people doing happy dances because of what happened today. And these miserable Fs are trying to find a way to stop it. So I have to believe, as a reasonable person from the outside looking in, is that I'm hoping that there are many, many millions, as Elizabeth Warren said, people who are looking at this and going, what are y'all complaining about? Of all the days in his presidency, you're complaining today? Instead of high-fiving people across the aisle and said, wow, we got some much-needed relief? Could this really work? Oh, we'd love to see it work for Americans. You're not getting that. You're not getting that at all. So the message is very loud and clear. It's not Trump that they're pissed off at. He said many times, they want you. He's just in the way. They can't conquer you and take your money and take your freedom and take your ability to talk if he's in the way. And today he just grew 10 feet tall and bulletproof. And it's pissing them off because, damn, how do we take this guy down so we can obliterate America? Because you cannot have it both ways. Either you're happy for Americans today who enjoyed a robust day in the economy, or you don't want them to. See, that's really, really scary. And I just hope that you take heed and watch this and talk to people and say, look, these people aren't happy about what happened today. Not at all. You know, nobody got fired today that I know of yet. No agencies got closed that you can argue about yet. Nope, none of that happened. The only thing that happened is that some countries have decided to come negotiate, and then the stock market and things blew up. So why would you be upset? The same people who were in Boca complaining about their 401k going down, today $5 trillion got put back into the economy. Where y'all at? Where y'all at? Because if you listen to the doom and gloom from the media, you'd think we're in trouble. But no, what's in trouble is they're in trouble. They hate you. I have had people I don't get along with, but I didn't wish ill on them. I don't want them to lose their livelihoods. I don't want them to be destitute. What is wrong with Democrats? And until people wake up and say, these people, they don't want you prosperous. Prosperity is a bad word to them. That's the antithesis of everything they believe in. And you're seeing it. Thus far in this first 20 minutes or so, you're seeing they don't want you to have any success. This one, you got to listen to this.
Aware that the tariffs have been paused?
I am, yes.
When were you made aware of that?
Well, I understood the decision was made a few minutes ago.
Sitting here.
And under discussion.
Sitting here, under discussion. So did you know that this was under discussion, and why did you not include that as part of your opening remarks?
So typically what I don't do is divulge the contents of my discussions with
What are the
President
details of the
Congress.
pause?
Well, my understanding is that because so many countries have decided not to retaliate, we're going to have about 90 days.
No, excuse me? China increased their tariffs on the United States. Trump blinked.
What's the blink, sir?
What blink, sir? In fact, I think he retaliated with 125, so where'd he blink, bro? Blink.
What do you know about this pause? What are the details of it?
Well, the details, as I understand it, is that China continues to retaliate. Other countries didn't retaliate. The president 2 or 3 days ago said we wanted to negotiate with those countries that asked for meetings. That's what we're doing.
What are the details? How long is the pause? How many days? How many weeks?
I understand it's 90 days. I haven't spoken to the president since I've been in this
So the trade representative hasn't spoken to the president of the United States about a global reordering of trade.
Yes, I have. I've just been in the hearing with you, sir.
But yet he announced it on a tweet? WTF? Who's in charge?
The president of the United States is in charge.
And what do you know about those details?
Well, as I mentioned...
it looks like your boss just pulled the rug out from under you. And
this guy's sitting in the hearing, and maybe he doesn't realize that there are levels to discussions and who decides and who doesn't decide. So this guy is a, quote, trade advisor, but he's not Scott Bessent, and he's not Howard Lutnick, and he's not Donald Trump. And so... what the hell are you trying to, what are you doing here? You're mad because the decision was made without this guy's knowledge?
The tariffs, the taxes on the American people. There's no strategy. You just found out 3 seconds ago sitting here. We saw you.
We've been discussing a variety of
If you came here knowing that you were going to be turned off, that these tariffs were going to be turned off, why didn't you include that in your opening statement? Why didn't you reference that as part of your testimony?
Well, I don't disclose my conversations with the president, sir.
Oh, because it's on a need-to-know basis, and you, unfortunately for you, are not one of those who needs to know. What do you mean? Why didn't you disclose it? I didn't feel like it. How about that? Suck on that. You didn't tell me.
These were specific questions we asked you all along. What's the strategy? These are real consequences for the American people and small businesses. I had a group of small businesses in my office earlier today talking about the impacts of these tariffs on aluminum and steel. This is amateur hour, and it needs to stop. What does this even mean for your negotiating strategy? How are you in charge of negotiation if the president is tweeting about this from wherever the hell he is?
The president was elected, and he runs the trade policy, and I advise.
Oh my God! The president's the president. He's doing some president stuff. Oh my God! I watched this and I'm like, tell me this is like Abbott and Costello stuff here. This can't possibly be happening in the halls of our government. You're talking to a guy who's a staffer, an advisor, and meanwhile, wherever the hell he is, he's in the White House, moron. Someplace you're not invited. It's hilarious.
It's been executed his
Who
trade
executes
policy.
the trade policy?
I execute the trade
policy. Did you know that this was happening?
We have been discussing all kinds of...
And there's another member of the cabinet, Bessent, who just canceled coming to the Hill to avoid talking about the market because it's in turmoil. This in just days because there was no strategy, there was no plan. The president chose to take actions that he didn't even have the authority to take.
So you see where they're going, right? You're supposed to run this shit by me, okay? I'm some guy no one's ever heard of in Congress, and we're supposed to be the ones who decide what tariffs are all about. Funny. If Trump didn't have the authority, he sure enough did it, didn't he? These people love to hear themselves talk and pontificate and talk about BS they have no clue. None whatsoever. And again, as you're watching this, understand, this guy's not happy for the American people. This wasn't supposed to happen. Trump wasn't supposed to see any success.
He's put our economy in disarray and near collapse. We have small businesses and Americans who are concerned about their well-being, people's retirement, people's 529 accounts went down because of this administration. We have people that are planning to send their kids to college this fall. People who are retiring whose benefits have declined.
Does he remember when Biden and Kamala were president and vice president? I think not. I don't think they remember that Donald Trump's been in office 3 months. Three. What about what happened before? And all the crap that they did? Nothing. Crickets. This guy's been in office in 3 months and the world's fallen down according to what Democrats think. These people are deluded.
Is this market manipulation?
No.
Why not? If it was a plan, if it was always the plan, how is this not market manipulation?
It's not market manipulation, sir.
Well, then what is it? Because it sure is not a strategy.
We're trying to reset the global trade system. That's offshored all of our factories.
And what has that done? How have you achieved any of that? But to enact enormous harm on the American people, which was our concern from the very beginning. Tariffs are a tool. It can be used in the appropriate way to protect U.S. jobs and small businesses. But that's not what this does. So if it's not market manipulation, what is it? Who's benefiting? What billion?
Oh, well, how do I say this? But I'm not going to say anything numerically. Who's benefiting? Oh, people in the chat benefiting. Lots of Americans benefiting. People you don't know, obviously. Maybe you should walk down the hall and talk to some of the people in your party who I'm sure benefited. Wow.
They just got richer. And all the while, there are not even any Republicans left in this hearing. They all left because they don't even...
All right, so this is important because a lot of times when they have these hearings, people who aren't talking aren't in the room. But everything, by stenographer, everything gets put into a text. So this guy is obviously hoping that sometime down the road, somebody's going to look at his rant here, and he's going, oh, wow, there weren't even any Republicans in the room. So he's hoping that he can get that on the record so people can read and go, wow, they left, they didn't care. Except for one big lie he just told.
Defend this, but meanwhile, the speaker is rushing to the floor to pass a budget reconciliation to screw America by passing the biggest tax cut in history.
What Americans are being screwed by the Speaker of the House passing the biggest tax cut in history? I'll wait on that one, bro. You can tell me all the Americans who are being screwed by a tax cut. And then please show me all of the Americans you're speaking of who say, I'd like to pay more taxes, sir. Can you please give me more taxes? Oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to live unless I pay more taxes. He's on television. He just said that. His words, not mine.
The backs of the American people? WTF!
Oh God, they've lost it. The guy just said, and there was no millionaires and billionaires there. He said he's screwing Americans because he's rushing to the floor to get tax cuts done. Not even a Freudian slip. He actually said the words. It screws America if you get a tax cut. Someone in his district needs to run against him and make a commercial out of that. Somebody's being screwed because you are getting a tax cut. They are so incensed, they don't even know what they're saying. Why are you so angry, bro? Why are you mad, bro? Something's really wrong here. And the only thing you can take from this is that they realize, A, they've lost control, and B, that there's a big, good chance that people made money today, and C, it shows some success and oomph behind Trump. And now that people are tasting this and going, this is pretty good. Maybe we should wait and see what happens here. Because today just showed me the guy may know exactly what he's doing. And they're freaking out about it. WTF?
Who's in charge? Because it sure doesn't look like it's the trade representative. You just got the rug pulled out from under you. I wish I could feel some empathy. But the empathy I have is for the American people whose very well-being and livelihoods are being affected. This is not a game. This is real life. I yield back.
Let the record reflect that there's more Republicans in this chamber than there are Democrats currently in this committee room. There's
Remember, I just told you he was trying to get something on the record. I'm like, wait for it. Here it comes. And he's going to get spanked right now. Now let the record reflect that this guy's a flipping idiot. Okay, well, let's just that happen.
6 of us, there's 5 of you. So let's make sure we get the facts right. I appreciate the president did not blink on China.
Did you see the lady behind him with the smirk? Smack him. Smack the boy down.
As was said earlier, and it needs to be corrected in the record, in fact, he increased China by 125%.
Would you yield, Mr. Chairman?
I do not.
Yield? Can we have a colloquy?
No.
We don't want to talk about the trade policy here in the Trade Committee. This is our jurisdiction.
Your time has expired, and I'm more than happy to talk to you. I asked if you would yield. And I said no.
Because you don't want to defend the policy or the strategy. Kick me out. What you going to do? Kick me out.
Mr. Yakum, you're recognized.
Thank you.
And then he wanted to fight. Kick me out. What you going to do? We are watching the destruction of the Democrat Party. I don't know how many of you had seen that, but it's like, oh my God. What's wrong, bro? Why are you losing it? But if that didn't make you just want to laugh and cry all at the same time, this clip here, it is at this point when you watch this clip that you realize that Democrats get dressed in houses with no mirrors. There is no introspection whatsoever. They don't even know that they're basically talking about themselves here. Let me show you what I'm talking about.
How concerned are you with this market fluctuation, and are you concerned that there could be members of the White House that are benefiting from it?
Absolutely. I'm writing to the White House to demand who knew in advance that the president was going to once again flip-flop on tariffs, and are people cashing in? There is just...
This dude is asking, of course that was a setup question, but he wants to know if there's anybody involved in the insider trading. He's from California, where Nancy Pelosi's from. And today he'd like to know if anyone knew about this that profited from it, because it could be insider trading. Because we never do that. We never do any insider trading. Oh, by the way, insider trading with politicians for it's legal. Every single person into the secretary there, if you're in government, they all do it. All. Left, right. It ain't right. I don't want it to happen. It shouldn't be allowed, but that's how they all make their money. And if it was illegal, back up a bus. Because at that point, Nancy could be the first one on. The eye patch dude, you can get on too, Ben Crenshaw. All y'all can just get on. So I don't know what the hell you're going to investigate because y'all do it. They all do it.
all too much opportunity for people in the White House and the administration to be insider trading, and you can't put it past them for a minute. So we're going to try to find out.
There's a good chance they'll just ignore you, though, right? Should there be some other independent investigation into this?
Well, I think Congress should do an investigation into this, but we're going to demand answers from the administration. I think you're right. They're likely to stonewall, particularly if they've been engaged in corrupt insider trading. But they won't be able to hide it for good. I mean, we know who's in the administration. We can look at eventually what people are buying and selling. This will come out.
We can look at what people are buying and selling. How about you go talk to Nancy? I would love, Ashley, we need to get a hold of Chris Joseph. Chris Joseph, what did Nancy buy today? What did Adam buy today? Oh, I would love to be in that discovery. Oh, you're asking me what I did today? How about we have an all-round investigation? How about we find out what you did today, Adam? How about Swallowwell? How about, Mazie Hirono? Oh, how about Maxine? We're going to throw it out. Let everybody see everything. I think you'd love that. I think you'd love to see that. Okay, let's have a full transparency. Who bought what in the last 24 hours? Good for you. It works for me. But that's not what they want. Oops, sorry.
But an administration that has their own meme coins and is already engaged in self-interested dealing with Elon doging agencies that are doing oversight of its own businesses. In that kind of corrupt climate, you have to assume the worst, and we're going to try to find out.
You live here?
So no mirrors. None whatsoever. Oh, I cut it too quick.
Yes. Well, maybe you know what a zombie is. When a person dies and is buried, it seems there are certain voodoo priests who have the power to bring him back to life.
Horrible.
It's worse than horrible because a zombie has no will of his own. You see them sometimes walking around blindly with dead eyes, following orders, not knowing what they do, not caring. You mean like Democrats?
That is my new favorite cut. That's my new favorite one. I'm gonna have to use it all the time at this point because these people have absolutely no shame. And I realized as I was setting up this show for tonight that I'm like, nobody's gonna believe me. And if you did believe me, you're probably gonna say to yourself, what exactly were these people thinking? All day long, all they wanted to do was trash Americans. Because they could. It's a party of misery. I was looking for any Democrat to be happy. I was trying to find a cut. Somebody please show me a cut where these people were actually happy. Didn't exist. All night tonight, I guarantee you. Everyone on CNN, everyone on MSNBC are sitting there with long faces, all pissed off. They got nothing. They have nothing. One of my favorite partners here on the show I want to talk to you about is the Patriot Addict with the Trump knives. So, you guys are loving this. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep doing it. Folks, Trump is finally in office, and it's only going to get better from here. As a celebration, Patriot Addict is sending our free Trump red knives to people who voted for Trump. Just scan the QR code over here to get yours now. This is just a way of saying thank you for supporting him and being a viewer on this show and being a part of this moment in history. Normally, the knife retails for $70. This is the knife right here, the Trump red knife. You guys have seen it for $70. But right now, you can grab it for free just by paying shipping, which is about $13.99. So just go ahead and scan the QR code here, or you can visit berryknife.com to apply your 100% off coupon and claim your Trump knife today before they are all gone. Again, that's berryknife.com, or scan the QR code right there. And this is the knife. Without cutting myself, I can show it to you. It's a pretty good sized knife. You can see that. People said turn my hand sideways so you can see like how long that is. It has got some weight to it. Feels balanced pretty good. Blade pretty strong. It's got the seat belt cutter in case you're in an emergency. It's got a window poker to break the window in case you have to break glass. And it feels good in your hands. Absolutely feels good. Doesn't do well for, carving out Teslas or anything like that. But, if a dog came up to you and he's being walked by another man dog, it might work for that. You never know, to keep the nuts away. But anyway, this is the red Trump knife, and you can get it for free, just paying a $13.99 shipping fee, and just go to the QR code right there or to berryknife.com. What a day. What a day. These people are absolute nuts. I'll be right back, and we'll take some comments.
to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, got a bit of breaking news SV has brought me up to speed on. Let me show this to you right here. It says the House has passed H.R. 1526, which is curbing the power of district court judges to issue nationwide injunctions against presidential policies aimed at restraining judicial overreach. It was very interesting because there were 2 nay votes here. 218 Republicans voted yay, 2 said nay. Every single Democrat, as they always do, every single Democrat said no, it passes. Interesting is, I understand that one of the 2 people who said no was Nancy Mace. And so we're going to need to find out why she said no. Let me see who the other one was, if I can get in here. No. Well, maybe I'm wrong, because this guy says that the 2 were Brian Fitz and Representative Don Bacon. Interesting. SV, you might want to go ahead and verify that, because they're saying that it wasn't her. But in any event, looks like they're going to. Yeah, it wasn't Nancy Mace, SV. It was Don Bacon, Republican from Nebraska. I think that's the guy that wanted to file something against Trump anyway. And Brian Fitzpatrick, the Republican from Pennsylvania. So, not sure why those 2 would have voted against it. SV, let me know if you can verify that, but it looks as though Nancy Mace did vote for it, and that it was the other guys. I don't know how. I wouldn't have thought that she would have voted against that. I don't see anything else happening here. All right, so let me take a few comments. We must be getting close because the Democrats are really losing their minds. Yes. Yeah. No worries. We all read things quickly. So it was that guy from Nebraska and the guy from Pennsylvania. Let's see here. I'm going to keep going. Shoot, that's a nice unit. If I could vote Trump, I would, but I'm Canadian. Oh, that's too bad. Tax cuts are good for Americans. I don't know why anybody would be against tax cuts. Why is that a problem if we all get tax cuts? Don't know. Can't tell you. Isn't Bacon, Ashley said, isn't Bacon the guy who opposed Trump's tariffs? Yep. Nebraska, you got some work to do. You need to get rid of this guy, because it's... Veteran Biker brought you up on his show again about coming on here. Yes, why is the dude breaking news without us coordinating it? So... Veteran Biker is a guy I've been talking to probably for over a year, and I'm going to get him on the show. He doesn't, Ashley doesn't know yet, because we were talking about it late last night, about, I don't know, midnight or so. We're sitting here exchanging texts. I even had a chance to talk to Ashley about it, but we're going to get Veteran Biker out here. I want to start talking to some of the people that you talk to. It seems like it's too often that people stay cocooned and they don't like to, interact. I'm like, why not? Let's talk with each other. So we're going to get him on here. Breaking China. Don't tell me that. Oh, okay. If this is true, SV, you have to verify this. China has announced they are willing to come to the table to negotiate. Oh, what did I tell you at the 4 o'clock show or the 1 o'clock show that ended up being a 5 o'clock show? Whatever. I said, you'll know. And I mentioned this. Hold on. Let me go ahead and clear this. I said, make sure you are prepared. Make sure you are ready. If it's tonight, open an E-Trade account. Do whatever you need to do. The minute China announces that they're coming to Washington, I can't give you financial advice, so I'll just tell you what I'll do. I'm pushing. I'm taking chips and pushing them in the center. So if that is true, Papa gonna be up tonight getting everything straight before the market opens tomorrow. My goodness. I cannot see how that... you can see I'm flustered. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. If China is coming to the table, Man, this is crazy. What phone is way too distracting? I don't see a phone. It says that phone is too distracting. I don't know what you mean. Anyway, I'd love to see if that was true. Wait a minute. SV says he has sent me a link. Let's see. All right, so we're going to have to cut the show short tonight. I've got to get on my account, and I'm going to have to do some things. Just kidding, but it's going to be like that. Breaking, China announced it's ready to come to the table to negotiate. Stay away from your Democrat friends. Stay away from liberals in the office tomorrow. Just stay away. It's game effing over. If this hits the airwaves and it's on television tonight, it's 8:20. Oh my God. Can you even imagine? I bet your stock market might go up to 3,000 points tomorrow. It's going to be insane. People on CNBC are going to be running down the halls. China's coming here. Just think about that. Come on. Get your butts here. China is ready to come to the table to negotiate. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. We went from trade war to like, oh my God, prosperity in about 24 to 72 hours. That is going to, thanks SV, that is going to be nuts. Democrats will have nothing to say. I mean, it's over. This guy may be president for like 14 more years. Who knows? As long as he lives. Good gosh. Wow. Wow. China got spanked. Oh. All right, so somebody asked me earlier why I was so high on Tesla. This is not financial advice, it's my ideology. My ideology is there's so many stocks that went up today or went down tomorrow and everything else, but I was explaining in the earlier show what was my affinity with Tesla. And I'm going to show you real quick why. And I'll take a minute to give you my insight. All right, so it does not mean I know anything more than anybody else. I'm not giving you financial advice. Have I used enough disclaimers yet? Okay, so I'm keep using disclaimers so everybody knows. So let me show you something real quick. Unlike a lot of the stocks that went up and down, Canon, Nvidia, all these different things, these are all solid companies, and because of the market fluctuations, things went up and down. Well, Tesla, the only metric, the only fundamental you can look at is why did this company go down? Well, the only metric you can point to is emotion. Everything else is sound. It's making money. People liked it. No problem with the equipment. No problem with the vehicles. Everything was nothing caught on fire by itself and blew up or anything. Nobody was killed. Everything was sound about the company. The only thing negatively putting pressure on Tesla is emotion. People don't like Elon Musk and they blame the car for some reason. But see, emotion, even in your own life, only lasts this long. You can only be negative emotion. You can only be pissed for so long until it's just not healthy. And so there's something to look at here. Let me see if I can show you this. Is when I look at something, I want to make sure that the stock has room to move. Like if you look at Nvidia, if you look at Canon or something, and if it was at 30 today, there's a metric I like to look at. And that one metric tells me, okay, where are we with this stock? Same thing with a house. So everybody looks up here and they go, oh, it's up 22% today. And it's bobbing and weaving and going thing. Okay. But what's the ceiling here? Well, I would go to the 1 year. How's it gone all year long? All right. So when you go and look at the 1 year, you're looking at 53% that it's up in 1 year. Now, go down here. You see this number here? the 52-week high. That means in the last 52 weeks, Tesla hit $488 a share. The 52-week low was $138. So you can see it has a whole lot of room to run. There's a lot of run in that dog. It can go all the way up to 488. And right now it's at 272. It is closer to the bottom than it is to the top. So you can see at 138, if it were to tank, if it were to completely tank, what would what would the value of that stock be? However, if it would go to the moon and get back into 488 territory, well, then you're talking about some cash. But in the event, there's still a lot of room to move. It's at 272. What if it goes to 290? What if it goes to 300? If it drops to 250, I'm still okay. I still own it. I'm holding it. I'm waiting to see what's happening. And because when you look at the year to date, you can see it went all the way up to 480. That was in December, not too long ago. Its high for the year was just about around Christmas. And then because of everything with Doge, it pooped the bed. But nothing happened between December 17th and its low point of April. Well, low point was here, March 10th. Nothing happened with the vehicle or the company. It was all emotion. So my feeling is if the emotion is removed, the fundamentals of the company are still in place. That's my thinking. I'm not advising. I'm telling you what my thinking is. My thinking is once the emotion goes away, it's going back up. And now that he's pulled back and is lesser in view, they can't really scream all that much about Elon Musk anymore because he's not doing anything. They already turned over their reports. Now Scott Bessent and Pete Hegseth and all these other people, they're taking the information that Doge already gave them. Elon's pulling back. He's still involved, but he's pulled back. So you can't yell at him anymore. So that's my thought behind it. And I'm sticking to that. Let's see here. Let's see. $25 today, Barry, in profit. You hold on. I got two sound effects for you. Elizabeth said, yes, it's emotional response by people. Is Tesla a growth stock? Yes, it is indeed. People have their opinions, but you can look. And if anyone said, hey, listen, their product sucks, it's not doing well, the transmissions on the Cybertrucks aren't working, you haven't heard anything negative about the product. So if there's nothing negative about the product, you just don't like the guy, then that tells me that the product's going to come back. Tells me anyway. I'm not telling you. I got to put a little button here and give a disclaimer. Barry is not giving financial advice to any individual. He's speaking of his own ideology. A lot of news coming every minute. President Trump just pressed the Diet Coke button. Oh man, it's absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Emotion is a great song. Exactly. All right, so let me keep going because we need to get, somebody goes, I think it's a bargain at 300, to be honest. Nothing wrong with the product. There's nothing wrong with your iPhone. That's why it stays so high. Anyway, well, I don't have an iPhone. I have Samsung, but you know what I'm saying. Let's just keep going. All right, so I cannot believe China said they're coming. Oh, I'm going to be up late today. Going to be up late. You know why? Because it is.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
All right, so let me continue with the other side of the coin. So I started the show with showing you the Democrats when they're, oh, everything sucks and people suck and America sucks and I can't believe you people are happy. I can't believe that some of you actually, made money today. Oh my God. Now we're going to go to the other side of the coin.
I want to tell you right now that Donald Trump outsmarted the world. Trust me, I'm an American. I support my president. But that's not really what happened here, from what I understand. And I know I'll get pushback, but here's what it is. First off, we should point out that one of the good things about this is that Scott Bessent is finally in the White House. He's finally leading this. I mean, up until a couple of days ago, it was Lutnick, it was Peter Navarro, the Commerce Secretary, the trade advisor, very much hawks. Now it's Scott Bessent, who believes in cutting deals as opposed to, just just putting these tariffs out there and let's be a mercantilistic economy. That's number one. But number two, let's recall what happened overnight. And from what I understand, and I'm getting this from people that are talking to the White House, what happened in the bond market overnight, the spike in yields on the 30-year and the 10-year bond, which showed that people were dumping our bonds. And who were those people dumping our bonds? Japan, the biggest holder of bonds, was selling bonds. That's what I'm getting from some very big money managers. China, maybe to some extent, but it was largely Japan and others. If you have a mass sale of bonds, that means people are losing confidence in the U.S. economy, on the ability to do deals with us. And from what I understand, this is what forced the hand of this 90-day reprieve. Now, is it a good thing? Are people coming to...
All right, so what he's saying there is that the 10-year yield, there's a bond called the 10-year Treasury bill. And a lot of the economy, mortgage rates, different than the market, the economy. A lot of the economy is based upon the 10-year yield. And what was happening was it was inverting very quickly because of the tariffs. And it was dropping down quite fast. In fact, it went under 4%, which was the standard that they wanted to get below. Because if it went below 4%, it incentivizes strongly the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates to stop the plunge. So, right after, I don't know if it was midnight or so, there started to be a lot of dumping of these Treasury bills. That just doesn't happen. So where the disagreement with what Charlie is saying here is that this was gross manipulation. They knew that Trump wanted lower interest rates to be coupled with the taxes in order for the tariffs to work. So it's not hard to see that what the people who were dumping it was a countermeasure, as I said earlier, with, like I was referring to the Hunt for Red October, or you've seen submarine movies where they drop the barrels as countermeasures to try and offset what's about to happen. Your economy is about to get blown up. So when they're dumping them, they're selling them, and because they're selling them, all kinds of things are being triggered. So what Charlie is saying here is they were doing it because there was a lack of confidence, which was just the opposite, we found out later, because they decided they wanted to come to the table as well. And they understood that what they took, the shot they took, didn't work. And then China tried to drop like $1 trillion into it, and it didn't work. You see, they're both coming to the table.
Table, yeah. But if you read between the lines, or not even what Scott Bessent said, we have no deals, right? There's nobody that is really there saying this is what we're going to do. And they paused it anyway. So my thing said, well, I'll give you this. There is some art of the deal here. And by the way, brilliant move by putting China in the corner. But that's a whole separate thing. Because remember, that's a very difficult negotiation. Everybody else is a lot easier. They do want to deal with us. Whether they want to be, forced into really bad trade deals on their end is a whole other negotiating story. But make no mistake about it, you cannot divorce this decision right here from what happened last night, which was, people focus on the stock market all the time. It's the bond market and the sort of lending markets that's the plumbing of the economy.
Now, I differ with him on the first part. The second part is something that you guys can learn. If you watch that 10-year yield and you see that dropping, that entire thing causes the Federal Reserve to take notice. Now, the part that Charlie's not telling you is when the Federal Reserve saw what Trump was doing, they had to have an emergency meeting. They called an emergency meeting yesterday because they realized at that point their hand was being called. They were going to be forced to move. And so I think, my personal thing is, I think he's off. He's misjudging what happened last night. because he's not putting into account the entire picture that, hey, listen, they're not saying it, but it was much. Anybody can look at it and say this is pretty much on design. They needed to get people to the table. And in that regard, it worked. There's nobody who can say it didn't work because they're all coming. And now one of those people that are coming is China. And there's nothing anybody can really do about that except be ready for what's about to happen.
Unloading your treasuries like Japan, which is, I believe, the largest foreign holder after China.
Just to be clear, there was an option that
Chinese companies, they do business through China, they do business through Vietnam, they do business through Thailand. Come on, they do business through Malaysia. We've got to really address it the way it is and say we want fair trade. We want to be treated the way we deserve to be treated. And that's what's happening now. So we have 10% tariff around the world today. And we are calling out China because they are going in a different direction. We're going to work with each of these countries, and we're going to come up with a great deal for America, and hopefully a deal that they think is appropriate. And off we're going to go for the golden age of America. It's coming now. You feel it now. Finally, someone is behind the desk in the Oval Office who's going to protect America and the world. And it's coming now. And I tell you what, it feels great.
As well, it should feel great. Because it's important to, in addition to everything else that's going on, it's like a shot of adrenaline to the Americans, the American people, to see all this happening. Remember, you went through 4 years where nothing happened except stagnation, inflation, unemployment, all kinds of stuff was happening, and Biden and Kamala just sat back and let it happen. And so me personally, and this is where I'm going to take off my Trump hat and just talk as an American, I like it that somebody is trying to do something. Will it work? Looks like it, but if it doesn't, he's still taking a shot. He's still taking a swing. Everybody else doesn't want anything to happen. Now, this is probably one of the funniest things you're going to see about someone whose mood changes like that. This is incredible.
Could you see yourself supporting Democrats?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing about me, which drives me crazy, I vote for Trump. I support him. I was never like some crazy MAGA guy. Like I look at each candidate and I choose who I like. I think the left and a lot of even what they did with, I want to say, hiding Biden's mental state and not having a primary really drove me to the right. So I am not somebody who would just strictly vote based on Republican or Democrat. I vote on the people running, how I think they speak to me, the issues that are important to me. But yes, I will vote how I feel is the best interest of what I believe in.
A few moments later.
I'm up 8.2 million today. And
This is Dave Portnoy, who is crying and whining literally 24 hours ago. he was a founder of Bleacher Report, made a ton of money and sold it, and then made a whole bunch of money when he bought it back for $1. And so he's on CNN. CNN must feel stupid. Hey, let's bring Dave Portnoy on. If we bring Dave Portnoy on, people will see Dave is upset, and that might, get more people to understand people are mad at MAGA. They're mad at Trump. And then this.
I bought at the low. I'm getting some stats. I'm stuck. All the left, they're going to run away. They're going to disappear. I got that guy from the West Wing. Let's see. The West Wing guy, saw him email me today. That wonderful moron. I'm going to bring this country together. I told you. I said, be patient. All right, this guy. Oh, that guy from the West Wing. Someone's going to crush on me. All these left people, you voted for this. Oh, he's crying. I'm dancing. I said it's a time to buy. I said, give him some time. He's not a crazy person.
Oh my God. I told you 24, 48 hours ago. I said it. I said millions, tens of millions, even billions are going to be made in the next short period of time. I said it. And sure enough, this guy, I'm up 8.2 million. How do you go from the depths of, I don't know if Trump's the right guy, to, oh my God, well, 8.2 million reasons could put you there, that's for sure.
Oh, keep buying. That's all I said. I go, don't pretend the stock market don't matter, because it matters. And by the way, Trump's not a fucking crazy person. He knows it matters. He's negotiating, but he gets it. He can't, like, the stock market is tied in with Main Street, Wall Street. Let it eat. Let me eat. And they let me eat, and I'm putting pizza burgers.
Oh, CNN didn't want to broadcast that. They didn't want to bring him back on after he made 8.2 pieces of cheddar. They want nothing to do with that. Oh no, hey, the guy he just he was upset. Oh, he just made 8.2 million, and he's dancing on video telling people I made 8.2 million. I didn't make 8.2 million. You probably didn't make 8.2 million, but I'm pretty sure, unless you're some kind of a dick, that you're happy that somebody made $8.2 million today. You'd have to be kind of an emotional wreck, a complete turd, to look down on somebody who made $8.2 million of genuine happiness. But CNN didn't want to bring him on for that part. Oh, yeah, well, I was never a MAGA guy, and, I could see myself voting for Democrat. Oh, hey, I made $8.2 billion. They exist in misery. That's it. That is their product. That is their audience. Those are their voters. They want to cultivate misery. They do not want happiness. They do not want prosperity. And that 2-minute before and after clip proves it to you. They couldn't wait to get him on. Couldn't wait to get him on CNN. And of course, Dave's going to take it. When the other day he was tweeting about how this sucks. Couldn't wait. But they didn't call him back then. No, we can't. Don't let people see that. Oh, God. I didn't make 8 cents, but I'm happy anyway. Yeah, absolutely. Barry, be happy for people that do this kind of stuff. It's simply, I make 8.2 thousand. If you made 8.2 thousand, then hats off to you. If you woke up or ended the day in a better position than you started, you're doing well. I got a little ahead, but glad to see life-changing money being made today. Yes, absolutely. The lefties are in the wind. Don't forget Trumpy's snake story. Exactly. It's yeah, how fast this song and dance changed. It was incredible. And I'm thinking, did CNN not see that? And I'm like, wow. His fortunes changed back quickly because it just kept going up. Remember, the day started slow. And it went on slow until he announced the push, and it shot up. And oh my God, I made $8.2 million. And I'm like, that said what I said, okay? Clams, cheddar, cabbage, Franklin, dead presidents. Yeah. Oh, man. No, what's this say? Where was that? Happy when I retire. Oh, yeah. No, I think it's that they don't want to have to work for their prosperity. Yeah, they'd rather just, hey, Dave, you made 8.2 million. You got to give like 3 million to taxes, okay? And we want to let you know you got to give your fair share. You leeches. They'll be knocking on his door. Can you imagine if that happened during the Obama administration? They'd probably have IRS agents at his door tomorrow. And remember, her big thing is she wanted to tax unrealized capital gains. So if you were holding some stock or real estate and it went up in value, not realized, but in value, she wanted to tax you on that. crazy. I bought in at 8 a.m. today, and then it just happened. Exactly. He's a Republican today. Elizabeth Warren is a hypocrite and a liar. Oh, yeah. It's absolutely crazy. So, let me, at this point, so you're not here too late, I'm going to segue, and we're going to listen to the interview with Miranda Devine from, well, actually, she's from the New York Post. She's on Hannity in 10 minutes. So let me get through the interview. So if you want to go see or tape Hannity, she's going to be on Hannity tonight. So her contract with Fox does not allow her to be live on a video. So I had to just use a picture, but of course you can hear her. She had some great things to say. We're going to be talking about the FBI and Kash Patel and Bondi and actually what's going on. And there's a lot of stuff being talked about right now with Steve Jensen and how this guy was going after January 6ers and how Kash Patel promoted this guy and Dan Bongino promoted this guy who was going after January 6ers. Something crazy going on. Trust Dan, trust Kash, but something crazy is going on. So take a listen to my interview earlier with Miranda Devine. Hey everybody, I've got a treat for you today. I've got Miranda Devine on today. She's on, basically I can't show her face because of her agreement with Fox News, but we still have her here and we're going to be talking to her. She's a best-selling author of The Laptop from Hell. She's a New York Post columnist and she's a Fox contributor. And if you're watching this live today on April 9th, tonight she's also going to be on Hannity. So if you're not watching it live and you're going to catch us on a replay, you'll find her on Fox some other day. Miranda, thank you very much for taking the time out of your must be a busy day to spend a little time with us.
Pleasure, Barry. Thanks for having me on.
All right, so you got me into the whole laptop from hell, and I started digging into the Russiagate, and that's how I really found out a lot just by reading the stuff that you put out. It appears that we may be getting close to the real story behind the entire Russia hoax. What are you hearing?
Yeah, well, look, we have been told by the administration that they will release the Russiagate binder, which was, the binder. Kash Patel was involved in this at the end of Donald Trump's presidency. It had highly classified information about Russian election interference and particularly the attack on Donald Trump that the FBI was involved in, actually in both elections, but in the 2016 election, this Christopher Steele dossier, the sort of trumped up claims that Donald Trump was an agent of Vladimir Putin. The Democrats and the deep state kept up that mythology through his entire first presidency, despite the fact that the Mueller investigation thoroughly looked at it and found that it was not true, despite the fact that many of Donald Trump's, people in his administration fell foul of this, went to jail or lost their jobs. It was all a myth. And a lot of journalists got Pulitzer Prizes for peddling these lies. And then, of course, in the 2020 election, this was sort of Russiagate hoax 2, I suppose. You had the laptop from hell. Rudy Giuliani gave me the Hunter Biden's a copy of Hunter Biden's laptop, the hard drive copy. Just before the election, we ran the stories that came from it that implicated Joe Biden in Hunter Biden's influence peddling operations. That was shut down as being a Russian disinformation operation. Who told us that? 51 former intelligence officials, including 5 former CIA directors or acting directors. And who allowed that lie to be propagated in that letter signed by those officials? None other than Gina Haspel, who was then the CIA director under Donald Trump.
Right.
So that all happened in October of 2020. And we also found out later that the reason that big tech censored our stories about the laptop from hell was because the FBI put them up to it. The FBI told them to expect, they pre-bunked the story. Before it came out, they told Facebook and Twitter to look out for a Russian hack and leak operation, likely in October, likely involving Hunter Biden.
Wow.
And so, of course, when Twitter and Facebook saw our stories about Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Ukraine, etc., they recognized them for what the FBI had been warning them about, and they censored them. And the rest is history. We've seen polls that say that if Biden voters had known about this story, had known that Joe Biden had lied when he said he knew nothing about his son Hunter's overseas business dealings, that they would have changed their votes. Enough of them would have changed their votes to potentially alter the outcome of the 2020 election.
This is insane and none of these people, none of those 51 people, Gina Haspel, Christopher Wray, nobody has seen any sort of retribution or even had to appear before anybody to explain what they did. So what are you expecting with the release of this information? Do you expect that any action is going to be taken, or is it just going to be a public drop, or is it going to be completely redacted and it'll say journalist one and this person, but it won't say any names?
Look, I'm sure there will be a lot of redactions. And, we haven't seen a lot, for all the talk of transparency, we haven't yet seen a lot coming out of the administration to answer a lot of the questions, a lot of the wrongdoing that was done, particularly in the FBI and the DOJ. And, I understand it's early days, but I think there are whistleblowers, particularly, who are getting impatient and wondering what the holdup is. So I do think, though, Donald Trump is definitely bent on, if not retribution, accountability, because he knows that he was, generous-hearted in his first term as president. He didn't go after Hillary Clinton, although he could have, and he just decided that it was better to concentrate on the future. The problem with that was that it just emboldened the wrongdoers, and they doubled down and did the same again to him. The Russiagate hoax, the Steele dossier, they tried to get him impeached. And then the whole J6 exaggeration of what that was, turning it into the biggest FBI operation in history, pretending that it was an existential threat to democracy, etc., instead of a bad riot gone wrong, not even as bad as the 2020 riots that no one really has been punished for. But at least Donald Trump, so far, he's done, he stripped the security clearances of those 51 and also other people, including Letitia James in New York and Alvin Bragg. People say, it's just symbolic. And yes, it is symbolic in a lot of ways, but it also does cause some of those 51 some pain in the hip pocket, because they make a lot of money out of their security clearances, and their inability to go into a federal building now by themselves makes also is a difficulty for them. Many of them live in Washington, and many of them were CIA contractors when they signed that bogus letter saying that the laptop and therefore our stories were Russian disinformation. And so if they're still CIA contractors, they won't be able to do that work anymore. So I think, it's a small gesture, but it does have some consequences. And I would hope that there would be more consequences than that, both from the DOJ, the FBI, and also from Congress.
Why do you think that, Pam Bondi and or Kash Patel may appearing to be dragging their feet? I can't imagine what's going on in the background. I personally think that whatever case somebody brings has to be ironclad so the media doesn't tear it apart, so it doesn't get, dismissed by one of these crazy judges. Could that be it, or are they really dragging their feet?
No, you're right. That definitely could be it. That's what I'm told. And also, in terms of doing justice by the FBI whistleblowers, people like Stephen Friend, whose story I broke back in the day when he was drummed out of the FBI after he just stood up. He was doing he was part of SWAT team raids on J6s, and he just complained to his bosses and said, "Look, this is wrong. These people are, they're up for misdemeanors. They're complying. Their lawyers are talking to us. They're willing to, come in and be arrested, surrender themselves. Why are we doing these dawn raids on their homes and terrorizing their wives and kids?" And he was just told, just follow orders. And he found that despicable. And he said that, the FBI was violating their constitutional rights of these people. And also he could see that there were other shenanigans going on with the J6 cases, that they were being farmed out in such a way as to make them seem like they were, that it was a much bigger threat, domestic terrorism threat, than it really was. The statistics were being manipulated and so on. So he became a whistleblower lawfully, talking to Congress, and he was suspended without pay, as was Garrett O'Boyle and others. So the fact that those whistleblowers have not yet even had a reach out from the FBI really disappoints them. One of them said to me he's going into a spiral. But what I'm told is that there are rules and procedures at the FBI that don't exist in other agencies. That's the reason why Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, was able to rehabilitate and rescue the two valiant IRS whistleblowers. And he's promoted them and he's seconded them to his office for a year to help him with reform of the IRS. He did that 3 weeks ago.
Right.
And the whistleblowers for the FBI are wondering, when is it their turn? So I'm told its rules and procedures are different in the FBI, and also that Kash Patel hasn't been there as long, obviously, as Scott Bessent, and also that they're very busy doing catching criminals and so on. So look, that's all very understandable, but I guess there is a time when they do have to, front up with some of this transparency that they've promised. And also to make the whistleblowers whole.
I've had Steve on the show a couple times, and you're probably familiar with Kyle Seraphin as well. I've had him on a couple times. And lately there's been a lot of chatter, and I'm sure you've been hearing it, about Stephen Jensen being named to the same office that went after the J6ers. What in the heck is that all about? How could Kash Patel and Dan Bongino not know who Stephen Jensen is, and what are you hearing about that?
Well, I mean, of course they know who he is. He was the chief architect of the January 6 roundup, the January 6 investigation from the minute it started, January 21. He set up all the processes until October of 21 when he went to Quantico. And the majority of the arrests were made during his tenure there, leading that investigation, the biggest investigation in FBI history. So yes, they know who he is, and now they've elevated him to be head of the Washington field office, which has caused great consternation among J6s, among everybody who was hoping for reform of the FBI. Now, I'm told behind the scenes that, look, you just wait and see, that there's a good reason for this, etc. But, I've waited a couple of days. I can't for the life of me find a good reason. No one can tell me a good reason, because as much as anything else, this is symbolically a disaster because what it says is that, Donald Trump, when he pardoned all the J6s, he was saying that this was a weaponized and bogus investigation, that it was politicized and it was deliberately targeted at Trump and his supporters to destroy them. And Joe Biden made that clear all the time. And it was just farcical that you had Joe Biden in State of the Union addresses, Kamala Harris, the vice president, the New York Times, everyone else, pretending and saying that this was the worst attack on the government since Pearl Harbor, worse than 9/11. This was a riot that went on for a few hours one day. It was reprehensible. I'm not defending any of the attacks that went on, but also it seemed to be a setup. And Nancy Pelosi refused to give Stephen Sund, the Capitol Police Chief, the National Guard backup that he'd been begging for days, and begged for particularly on the very day that the Capitol was being breached. The Capitol Police were woefully undermanned, and that was obvious that was going to happen for days before. We knew that there were going to be hundreds of thousands of people coming to Washington to see President Trump in his last address at the Ellipse, and they knew that they were going to go to the Capitol. And so, it was a setup waiting to happen, and so then it's turned into some sort of smear against MAGA and smearing all Trump supporters as violent, deranged rioters. When actually, if you're really going to go down that road, you would have to call Democrat supporters the deranged, unhinged, violent rioters because of the summer of 2020. We saw it all over the country, the arson, the murders, the violence. And so I think that putting the FBI guy who was in charge of that weaponized investigation is just sending the absolute wrong message. I don't care what skills he has. I don't think it's a good look. And, I think it's really strange that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino have just left this hanging out there without making any explanation. I've been told it's unlikely I'm going to get an interview with either of them today. Right. I've also asked for an interview with Jensen, not going to get it. I've interviewed George Hill, who is a former FBI analyst, who said he was on a call, or several calls, about 60 calls, with this guy Jensen. And on one of them, he alleges that Jensen said, in response to pushback from some of the field officers about having to haul in and arrest people that they didn't regard as being, domestic terrorists, he pushed back, this Jensen guy, allegedly, according to George Hill, and said, I don't give a flip. These are domestic terrorists. So I think it's just a bad look, and I'm still waiting for a decent explanation. But I hope it is not that they think that this flap will go away and that they can just memory hole the FBI's culpability in the persecution of a lot of very innocent people, and persecution that Donald Trump himself acknowledged when he pardoned them.
In addition to Stephen Jensen getting promoted, there's a woman in the shadows who is involved in all this, and I saw you commented about it, Nikki Flores. What's the deal with Nikki Flores?
Yeah, so Nikki Flores, who'd be number 2 under Stephen Jensen at the Washington field office, she's an analyst, and she was one of the 2 FBI agents who confronted Senators Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson in August 2020, when, if you remember, they were doing an investigation, a congressional investigation into Hunter Biden, corruption, and Burisma, which was the Ukrainian gas company that was paying the then vice president's son $1 million a year for basically nothing. And Ron Johnson and Chuck Grassley did a really good job against terrible opposition and sabotage from the Democrats, but also from some of their own colleagues. And that sabotage got increasingly worse until it culminated in August 2020 with these 2 agents confronting them and demanding that they be given a defensive FBI briefing in which they were told that they were being fed Russian disinformation, that their entire investigation effectively was discredited. And Ron Johnson was surprised by the being ambushed with this defensive briefing. And he said shortly into the meeting, he said, hey, this is just complete BS. What are you doing? And if I see this in the media tomorrow, I will know that you are just ambushing us to try and put a spoke in our investigation, that this is politicized, weaponized law enforcement. Sure enough, the Washington Post was leaked the story, and that story did a lot to discredit their investigation.
Wow.
And made some of their colleagues refuse to agree to subpoenas for various people. It really put a crimp in their investigation. They still did a good job, but I think they probably could have found out even more if that defensive briefing hadn't been given. So, there's a lot of wrongdoing in the FBI, and it can't be just brushed under the carpet.
This doesn't bode well. I mean, people are already complaining that they don't see anything happening, and now seeing Stephen Jensen and Nikki Flores continuing in that position isn't going to make people feel any better. So I hope they know what they're doing. They're in the position. Trump, he brought in Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, and Kash Patel brought in, I guess, Dan Bongino. So I hope there's a plan here, but people are getting a little leery about this and pushing back. So I know you got to jump, but since you're in the inside there and you got your ear to the grindstone, what are you hearing about this tariff war? Is China, do you think, are they going to cave? I know this morning they just raised theirs to 84. Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, says we should raise to 400. Personally, I don't know where it's going. It doesn't really affect me. But so what are you thinking about it?
Well, look, I think what Donald Trump says is, just stay the course. I think that he has enough runs on the board with his first administration, with their economic success, for people to trust that he knows what he's doing. And I particularly take my lead from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who really is just a brilliant financier, a billionaire in his own right, and understands the markets like nobody else. And what he says is that, the Wall Street has had its day. Stocks have been going up and up and up and up, and Main Street, it's time for Main Street to have its day. It's not that, they're neglecting Wall Street, but there's a rebalancing of the economy from sort of a lot of government money sloshing around during the Biden administration to now boosting the private economy, and that the tariffs are a tool, the way Donald Trump sees them, as a tool for negotiating a better deal for America. And to remember also that, something like, I think he said 10% of Americans control 88% of the stock market, and the other 40% control the rest, and 50% are just in debt. They're trying to rebalance things so that it's fairer for the forgotten Americans. And that doesn't mean that we're going to go into a recession.
Right.
It doesn't mean that, everything, it looks like turmoil at the moment. But I think that Donald Trump's earned our trust in his ability to find method in the madness.
And what's funny is that 50% who have been most affected and are responsible for debt, it seems like those are the ones who are screaming the most. They don't realize this is to actually help them. It's mind-boggling to me that, 50% of people who probably don't even pay taxes for the most part are the ones complaining about these tariffs. It doesn't make any sense. None whatsoever. Miranda, thank you for taking time out of an obviously busy day. We'll be looking for you on Hannity tonight. And everybody that wants to follow Miranda can go to @MirandaDevine on X, or look in the New York Post and you can search for her articles. Miranda, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, Barry. Great to be with you.
Have a great day. All right, so that was Miranda Devine, New York Post columnist, Fox News contributor. She wrote the book and blew out the story, The Laptop from Hell. It's 9:16. She's on Hannity tonight. If you'd like to check her out after this show, go ahead and DVR Hannity so you can see it. But that's the first time I ever had to do a guest that wasn't allowed to show their face. But I got around it. We made it work. sounded perfect. I mean, it was one of the best sounding interviews I've done. I'm happy to talk to these people, get their ideas on what they're seeing and how things are appearing to them. And it was funny because that last question I asked her about the tariffs and everything, we recorded that, I believe it was like 9:30 this morning. And so that was before everything blew up. And nobody knew what was coming. Nobody knew that this was going to happen. And, it was nice to see how things played out during the day. Got a bit of breaking news for you. Well, I mean, I don't know how much it's breaking, but it was 7:30. But again, breaking. Canada agrees to negotiate new trade deal with the United States.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
You know, I could foresee a time where President Trump's approval rating actually drops because we're used to so much winning. It just keeps happening. And we're all expecting, what are you doing today? Entertain us. Do something. Do the thing. And nothing happens. He goes golfing. Hey, man, we're all sitting here waiting for you. We're waiting for you to do something because we can't take anymore. We just want more winning. I mean, this is incredible. Libnuts, cry all you want, cry some more. Canada agrees to negotiate new trade deal with the United States. Man, we're going to get addicted. I need my Trump fix today. Hey, President Trump, where you at, bro? That's what's going to happen. We're 3 months in, and we're getting used to this. We're just starting to get comfortable, just starting to settle in like a new pair of shoes. And we're going to get used to seeing this. And I'm like, you can't stop, bro. You got to keep going. You got to keep winning. We need it. We need it every single day. And I feel selfish because I am getting used to it. Oh my goodness. It's so good. They said that before. Will he really? Yeah, exactly. We'll win more, win more, win more. Somebody asks, is CNN covering all this winning? Oh no. Oh no. They won't even cover Dave Portnoy after making $8.2 million. That's not going to happen. I voted for winning. Yes, that's what. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And it's going to just keep going. Because, again, the contrast between the last administration and this administration, just showing up, he's helping us win. Can't even keep up with him. I mean, is he on? Is he not going to be on? Watch what happens tomorrow. We're going to wake up, it's Thursday, have to have a hard time remembering the day, and 7:15, I clicked the button to get the schedule, and I'm like, today I actually thought it was going to be easy day. I thought it was going to be no big deal, and boom, it just all happened. Like, if you guys ever want to know what his schedule is, you could go to the website, but the easiest place to go to would be just to follow, where is she? Monica Page. And every single morning, Monica posts President Trump's daily schedule. Let me scroll back to the beginning of the day. And here, she puts out the morning schedule. She gets it from the other website. And that's all was supposed to happen today. A photo opportunity with racing champions, and he signed some executive orders. Didn't know all the other stuff was happening, that the world was going to wake up. Watching the world wake up. You guys know that song, don't you? I won't sing anymore. And then, those of you who, wow, if you didn't hear about this earlier, you're about to hear about it now, because OMG, craziness happened. Kash Patel posted this: major blow to drug cartels. Over $500 million in drugs are intercepted and offloaded. This operation was one of the most successful counter-narcotic efforts in U.S. history. And he posted this, looks like it about 10 minutes ago. However, this happened this morning here in Fort Lauderdale. And luckily, I caught it in case you guys haven't seen it. Let's take a listen.
All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this morning's press briefing. Today, leaders will present information on the maritime narcotics interdiction, deployment, and contraband offload by the crew of the U.S. Coast Guard cutter James, and the interagency partnerships and collaboration that make these results possible. With us today is Attorney General Pam Bondi. I spell P-A-M-B-O-N-D-I, U.S. Department of Justice. Federal Bureau of Investigation Director Kash Patel. I spell K-A-S-H-P-A-T-E-L, U.S. Department of Justice. Vice Admiral Nathan Moore. I spell N-A-T-H-A-N-M-O-O-R-E, Commander, U.S. Coast Guard Atlantic Area. Lieutenant General Evan Pettis. I spell E-V-A-N-P-E-T-T-U-S, Military Deputy Commander, U.S. Southern Command. And Captain Thomas Rodzevich. I spell T-H-O-M-A-S-R-O-D-Z-E-W-I-C-Z, Commanding Officer of U.S. Coast Guard cutter James. We will begin with brief statements from these leaders, and then we'll open the floor to your questions. Following the speaker's remarks, we have about 10 minutes, during which media may ask one question and one follow-up to allow for other outlets to have an opportunity. At the conclusion of the press briefing, our public affairs staff will also be available to assist with any follow-on inquiries or further needs. For those unable to join us today, we will publish a press release with imagery and information about the James's interdiction operations later today. I request that any questions you may ask are focused on the Coast Guard's drug interdiction operations and the cutter James. I know that we have several leaders here today, and you may have other questions for them, and we are happy to refer those to the appropriate authority to be answered at another time. But we invited you here today for the James offload. Thank you, and it is now my pleasure to introduce the U.S. Attorney General, the Honorable Pam Bondi.
Thank you. Gentlemen, thank you. Kash, thank you. Director Patel, and I've got Acting U.S. Attorney Greg Kehoe, Middle District of Florida behind me. Thank you all for being here today. Today's operation is an example of the unprecedented collaboration between the military and the Department of Justice components, working closely with the U.S. Coast Guard. And look at all these great men and women in the Coast Guard. Thank you so much for your dedication. This is a textbook example of the Justice Department supporting the fight against violent crime. These drugs are worth over $500 million. Almost 45. Congratulations again to the Coast Guard. You have done incredible work, Admiral, and your team, Captain, in securing these drugs. This team, with all the agencies I just mentioned, used drones, aircraft, and ships to interdict the traffickers off the coast of Peru, Ecuador, and the Galapagos Islands. What they did saved countless American lives. Countless lives. This cocaine would have been distributed throughout our country and perhaps throughout our world. 11 separate prosecutions will take place as a result of this, and they will be prosecuted in the Middle District of Florida. These defendants will be held accountable for bringing this poison into our country. I always say if we can save one life, we have done amazing work. And today we have saved thousands and thousands of lives as a result of this incredible cooperation. We believe two cartels, CJNG and Sinaloa, were heavily tied to these shipments. This is a major blow to their financial operations and their efforts to distribute drugs throughout our country. It's an example of a prosecutor-led, intelligence-driven approach to stopping these criminal enterprises in their tracks. DOJ and all of the agencies involved will continue to dismantle this transnational criminal organization, lock these criminals up, and keep our country safe. The drugs that you have seen today will no longer destroy lives. They will help us lock up the criminals. Thank you all, and it is my honor to introduce the Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Kash Patel.
Thank you all for being here. General Bondi, we're here today because of your dedicated leadership to safeguard American lives, because you had the courage to follow President Trump's courage to put our children first and to make sure that the narco traffickers, and make no mistake, this administration has labeled them foreign terrorist organizations because that's what they are. There is no lethal force on planet Earth that is responsible for an overdose death of an American citizen every 7 minutes, more so than these federal terrorist organizations, foreign terrorist organizations. We are humbled to be a part of this Department of Justice, and we are going to continue to safeguard our streets. This is what it looks like when the United States whole of government approach brings every resource to bear, from the Department of Defense and the United States Coast Guard, from HSI, from FBI, from DEA, and so many others. They are going to get all the drugs off the streets, off the markets, and as Attorney General Bondi said, we are going to lock them up. They are no longer going to be free to roam. We are going to dismantle the next man up theory that has been breeding in these Mexican cartels for generations. No more. We are here today because of your brave work. The men and women of the FBI that I lead, I'm humbled and honored to be here in South Florida, where I spent so much of my career before I moved to Washington, D.C. And looking around, I'm awe-inspired by the fact that when you take the rules and regulations that blockaded these brave men and women of law enforcement and military, and you unshackle them, then you should look at this seizure, and you should see how much it multiplies, and see how many children and how many young adults and how many adults' lives that we have just saved. They did it. We're fortunate to be their leaders. We're humbled to be here. And you will see this happen across the country, because this is not a one-off for General Bondi. She has made this a mission priority, and the FBI will follow in every corner of this country and every square centimeter of this planet to eradicate the narco traffickers and the foreign terrorist organization that are killing American citizens. They will be held accountable. We will take preventive measures, and we will scour the ends of the earth to find every single one of them. Thank you so much for being here today.
Good morning. We welcome the crew of the James back from a remarkable patrol where they seized $510 million of illegal drugs, that's cocaine and marijuana, that was interdicted at sea before it can reach the U.S. border. So what does that number actually mean? You know, what does the number besides the dollar sign mean? It means 154 lives saved directly from cocaine-related overdose deaths in this country. It means that there's almost 11,000 less new cocaine users that are going to get access to the drugs. It means that we've saved at least $16.5 million on costs related to inmate care and health care for people inflicted with these drugs. And from the Coast Guard standpoint, what this really means is a beautiful ship like the James heralds a new time for us, a new time of assets that impact the United States strategies for countering these cartels in new ways and disrupting the flow of illegal drugs. Just since February, the combined efforts of Coast Guard cutters James, Stone, Weishi, and Mohawk yielded over 59 metric tons of narcotics seized. That's $1.5 billion of revenue to the cartels. This success is a team success made possible through the dedication and coordination of our partners in DHS, DOD, and DOJ. Every day, the Coast Guard controls, secures, and defends the border and maritime approaches of this country, proudly serving as part of DHS at all times and as a military service and part of the armed forces. On the water and in the air, the Coast Guard and our partners are on the front lines to fight against these foreign terrorist organizations, including the cartels, and other dangerous criminals who seek to traffic bulk cocaine, including illegal fentanyl and other deadly drugs, from entering into our communities. Under our DHS leadership, the Coast Guard has worked diligently to harden and secure the U.S. southern border and maritime approaches. Our message to the cartels is simple. We own the sea. You do not. We will find you, we will hunt you down, we will stop you before you reach our border, before you can smuggle these drugs into our country. To the crew of the James you see here and all of our partners gathered, thank you for the great work keeping America safe. Thank you very much, everyone. Semper Paratus.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege to be here today representing Admiral Alvin Halsey in U.S. Southern Command. And first, I just want to say thank you. Attorney General Bondi, Director Patel, Admiral Moore, Captain Rodzovich, my apologies, and to the crew of the James, the brave men and women of the crew of the James. It's a real privilege to stand with you today. You know, the most fundamental duty of a DoD organization like U.S. Southern Command is to defend the United States against threats and defend her people, defend her Constitution. But this is a threat that by law, policy, design, DoD can't get after alone. It takes a team, and it's a privilege to be part of this team. You've heard the facts of what these amazing men and women have done, what the organizations that these amazing leaders have accomplished. But I just want to say thanks. You know, there is it is amazing to watch in action the machine that is our government interagency getting after this problem set. I think it starts and ends with the Department of Justice. The intelligence that we get from the prosecutions, the intelligence we get from the FBI, intelligence we get from other sources, tips and cues us to do the DoD detection and monitoring mission, and then we get the actions on the objective from the brave men and women of the James and crews like them to grab those drugs and bring them back for further prosecution and investigation. And it's a virtuous cycle. It's an amazing thing to watch. At Joint Interagency Task Force South in U.S. Southern Command, it all comes together with the addition of 14 interagency partners and law enforcement and defense representatives from 21 partner nations. This is an incredible achievement, an incredible whole of government and partner nation accomplishment. So I'm just proud to be here today and to say thanks to the brave men and women defending our nation. Thank you.
It's with great pride I stand before you today reflecting on the tremendous accomplishments of Coast Guard Cutter James and the crew. What you see today is a result of the crew executing an unprecedented pace at sea of interdictions. In only 56 days in theater, James interdicted 11 drug smuggling vessels, seizing over 22 metric tons of cocaine and marijuana, and apprehending 34 narco traffickers. In all my years working in this vital mission, I have never witnessed such substantial results in such a short amount of time. What is not on display, though, is the incredibly challenging work done by our crew that went into these interdictions. We patrolled an area the size of the continental United States, finding the narco-terrorists' tiny, drug-laden vessels across the vast waters of the eastern Pacific is equivalent to finding the proverbial needle in a haystack. But the crew of the James showed narco-terrorists that we will find them. We show them that they are no match for the professional competence, technical expertise, and operational prowess of the James crew. We sent a message loud and clear that we can and that we will continue to stop them bringing harm and devastation to our border. Or as my ops boss would like to say, you can run, but you can't hide. Alongside our permanent party crew members, it's important to mention those who deployed with us, our law enforcement detachment, pilots and air crew, intelligence professionals, and the operators of our unmanned aircraft systems. Together, we are James, a team of teams. This team of tirelessly dedicated professionals traded time with family and friends to carry out our vital mission, stopping the flow of illegal drugs, cutting off profits that fueled deadly fentanyl trade, and ultimately protecting American communities and families from unimaginable heartbreak. This crew represents the best of the best, and I'm incredibly proud to serve with all of the dedicated professionals that deployed on James this patrol. Thank you for your time.
So we have a brief period for question and answer. Before we open up the question and answer, I'll ask that you raise your hand and then we'll call on you. Please state which speaker your question is for, what your name is, and which media outlet you're from. And again, as a reminder, we invited you here for the contraband offload, so please keep the questions on topic related to the interdictions of maritime interdictions of contraband at sea. So with that, I'll ask a first question over here. Yes, sir.
And then the brand doctors with its 37. This is part of one thing. It's very daring, but you rather than death. Sure. How do we go with docs in the fucking book? And then and spun.
Evan, this is not a drop in the bucket. Behind you is $500 million of pure cocaine, uncut cocaine. So when they cut this poison with baking soda and whatever else they cut it with, it will multiply even more times than you can imagine. We are saving thousands and thousands of lives. These brave men and women, you know, we often talk about the Coast Guard and General, we talk about all the time our great men and women in law enforcement and the military. But sometimes I feel like the Coast Guard is overlooked at how incredibly dangerous your jobs are. So thank you again for what you've done and the countless lives that you have all saved today. By 11 defendants are going to be locked up. And if this isn't sending a message loud and clear to Sinaloa and these other cartels, it better be. Because they know that these men and women, all of these agencies working together are coming after them. And if there is more, they will find them and they will arrest them and we will prosecute them.
Thank you. Next question. It's in the middle right here.
The questions sound garbled because I had to enhance the audio so that we could hear her response better. So some of the questions don't sound. It sounds bad because they're outside by a ship in the near the water. So bear with the question as long as you can hear the actual answer.
It's about this was about these 11 defendants. Where were these?
Have we released that yet, or is it still sealed? Have we released anything about the defendants? Yeah. Still sealed, I'm sorry, about the 11 defendants. But they are tied to the 2 cartels that we mentioned.
On the
Integrated.
I didn't get it in the sounds. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the 261 that were on that, first of all, we're going to stay on topic from here on, but we are talking about the cartels. We're talking about foreign enemies, so I'll gladly answer that. The 261 on that first flight are 261 reasons why our country is safer. They are not coming back. They are staying in a prison in El Salvador. They are not from our country. They are not migrants. They are illegal aliens who are peddling drugs, guns, and illegal money in a very organized way throughout our country. And that's another reason why our country is safer today.
All right, so you heard her smack that lady down because the first guy, hey, this is just a drop in a bucket. It's no big deal. Like, really? 22 tons of uncut coke is just a drop in the bucket? Yikes. And then this person, the last one who just spoke, decided she wants to talk about the migrants being shipped out. We're here about a drug bust with the Coast Guard. See the big boat behind us, the big red, white, and blue boat? You see these sailors sitting right here? That's what we're here to talk about. What are you people doing in the media? Ugh.
Again, we have limited time, so please keep the questions on topic, and we will follow up with our appropriate public affairs staff to make sure that your needs are met. Yes, over here.
One of those things is I just didn't hurry about these cartels. It's been rattling down instantly. Are banging down people being taken into custody. Right, guy.
As the team mentioned, it is changing the dynamic. The threat dynamic is changing, and you're seeing it here because it's a collaboration of law enforcement and military intelligence sharing, along with the intelligence community, that leads to these types of seizures. And as the General and the Admiral mentioned, in such speed that they have not seen in their careers. So it is more than rattling them. And it's not just this mission that the Department of Justice is leading here. This is one big example that we want to showcase the work of a team-led interagency process. And that's what it is. No one is taking credit for it. Everyone is putting the mission first. And the people that are hearing that message the loudest are the cartels and the CJNG and Sinaloa cartels and the others down in the south of the border. But as these brave men and women have mentioned, there is no border that they will not defend. Every border is an operational offensive thanks to this interagency process and the brave folks of JIDO South and Southern Command.
All right, we have time for one more question. Yes, over here.
I'm wondering, so we talked a little bit about where these individuals, they've already been designated as terrorists down within the stock. Right, well. It's okay. After President Woodley's pricing in there. Or so. The red beats. Then he must us.
Well, I think this sends a very loud message today, Ali. Sinaloa, all these gangs, TDA, MS-13, the cartels, all of the cartels throughout the world, I would think they're pretty frightened right now based on what's behind us, based on 11 defendants in custody as a result of this one bust, because it's all of these agencies standing behind me, working hand in hand with Homeland Security to get them off our streets. You're seeing what's happening. These people are an organized crime unit. And, you know, we've shut down the borders in Mexico, Canada. So now I think they're probably increasing through our ships, through our ports, but they're not going to get away with it, thanks to all these great men and women. It's a multifaceted approach to catching them. As I said, using drones, using aircraft, using any technique available to our military, to Homeland Security, to the FBI, to the DEA, to all of these agencies working together. We are ahead of them. We are going to stop them. And whenever possible, we're going to lock them up forever or get them out of our country to keep Americans safe. That was Donald Trump's directive on day one when he got elected. Keep America safe, make America safe, and that's what all of these people standing here today are doing.
All right, so that was the last question, and now they just do the photo op, and they're walking in front of the pallets, the absolute pallets and stuff of drugs sitting right there. I love the cutaway shot here. They're going to show you the guys up on the Coast Guard cutter up there. Boom, love that. The big boat. Yeah, very nice. Very, very nice how they put that together. So in watching some of the comments that were coming through, it was kind of weird watching some of the comments and people still, I don't expect you, let me put it this way. I don't expect anyone to be satisfied. I don't expect people to say that's enough. But at the same token, accept the wins. I don't care if we win by 2 or we win by 22. It's a win. It still gets stacked up on the W side of things, not the L. Is it the Epstein arrest? No. Is it the Diddy stuff? No. But we took $500 million of cocaine off the street? Yeah, that's still a big W. Like I've said many times, people have to get used to winning. Stack up the wins and understand that every single day, it seems like at this point, literally every single day, something is being won. And I'm closing out tonight's show because that's a win. There's no other way to look at it. You can't say it's a drop in the bucket. You can't say it doesn't matter. 500 million of coke, I'm pretty sure that matters to somebody. I'm pretty sure no matter how big the dealer you are, 500 million hurts. There's nobody who's going to say, yeah, it's only 500 million. No, there's nobody saying that. Nobody. So me personally, I'll take wins all day long. Doing what they did today is more important than stupid Epstein list and other files that can come down the pike. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if we just got to train people. And I also wonder sometimes, are those the trolls who are trying to get your eyes off of what you're seeing? When's the last time you saw Merrick Garland and Christopher Wray at an interdiction, at where something happens? That was your Attorney General and the Director of the FBI down here in South Florida with the Coast Guard stopping $500 million of cocaine. Uncut cocaine. Come on, people. Come on. Billion. Ginormous win. Yeah, that's absolutely winning. Sure, Sue, I do believe they did say Florida. Yes, Port Everglades is right here in Fort Lauderdale. That's where that took place. So I just wanted you guys to see that. I had that ready, and not people like fake bust. Come on, it's not a fake bust. You know it's not a fake bust. I guess that means Daddy ain't getting his shipment. You know there's somebody somewhere, and some cartel leader is like ready to take out someone's family because of what happened today. That's crazy. Yeah, at least they're allowed to do something about it. We didn't even see that happening when Biden and Kamala were president. Never. That's because they just let it go through. It was crazy. All right, so don't forget this. Hey, if you'd like to join 15,000 plus fellow patriots on X in our private X/Twitter group, go to fanfareshop.org/group. Just put in that URL in your browser. It'll take you right to our private group on X. Love to see you there. Let's share some content. And if you'd like to win... No and right now. And I'm working on getting the site fixed. We will be going on Monday. We'll be giving away the new T-shirts, men's and women's. And we'll be doing that, doing five T-shirt giveaway Monday. Hold on, let me say it. 5 T-shirts in the morning and 5 T-shirts in the afternoon. Programming note. Where's Tommy's drum roll? Tommy sent me a drum roll a long time ago, and I haven't used it in a while because we haven't given away the hoodies. But he's got a drum roll here for me, and I gotta play it. This is huge. Well, tomorrow, providing nothing happens where she can't make it, providing that nothing in terms of what her show is doing. Let me just tell you, tomorrow, keep your fingers crossed that we don't get bumped or anything. Tomorrow is Thursday and currently scheduled for 2:30. Please, 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 please. 2:30 tomorrow. If everything goes the way it's supposed to, hopefully we'll be smiling and talking to none other than Laura Trump. 2:30 tomorrow. Right now, Ashley's got her booked, her team confirmed. As long as there's nothing that bumps us, we should be talking to Laura Trump tomorrow at 2:30. Yes. So if you'd like to see it and see it live, make sure you're here for the early show. I may, depending on how it goes, cut it and play it again in the evening show. But hopefully everything goes all right. The Lord wishes on us and everything goes the way is planned as of right now. Laura Trump will be here tomorrow at 2:30. Yes, I have a big smile on my face. Ashley, she's sitting around with her fingers crossed. Robin's like, please let it happen. But in any event, she's booked for 2:30 tomorrow, and I'm pretty sure if something happens, we're going to get her back. But let's hope that 2:30 tomorrow it gets done. I mean, I would be probably floating the rest of the weekend. I might even take the rest of the week off. I am so psyched. I don't want to over jinx myself though, so I'm gonna just take it easy and see if it happens. All right, GD Biddy, can you get Melania on? Ashley, that's on you. World Peace, help the group here. I'll tell you what, if we get Laura's interview tomorrow and it happens, Oh, yeah, I think it's going to open a whole lot of doors. A whole lot of doors. World Peace, help the group, please hit the like button. Thank you. Jeremiah Kerr, my 2 involuntary pronouns, not she and she, it. Job for 9, Trump should sue for defamation. These people are bad. Joe Miller, our educational system has truly failed us. Terry Gill, yes, it has. Thank you. Liz Bean, best show ever watching in Wisconsin. Thank you. Buddy Sanders, has Bolton ever fought in any war that he... John Bolton, what a crock. Johnny Parker, thanks, Barry. I save all the clips of these ignorant Democrats gaslighting and replay them when the stock market reaches the highest boom levels ever. I believe, I have to check, but I think today was the highest gaining day in stock market history. Of course, they're not telling anybody that in the media. You guys can go ahead and look that up and grok and confirm, but I think today was the highest day in stock market history. Tilly, good evening, Barry, Mrs. Barry, and all Fanfare family. Thank you. World peace again. The Democrats and left-wing media are the ones manipulating the stock market by scare tactics. Trump said, do not sell or freak out. Bingo. Patricia Kuhn, this is so funny. They just spew verbal diarrhea. Yes. Patricia, again, money, money, money. They want your money. Give it up. Yeah, can't be happy that people made money today. I'd like to get one for my husband, but we're in Australia. Ray doesn't think it would pass customs. Huh. I will check. I think you're talking about the knife. I will definitely check. Michael Haas says, Barry, Trump knife has an opener on the back of the knife when closed. Tab on top of closed knife, pull down with index fingers, and knife will open. Yes, I think it was Tommy did a video. Maybe I'll have to get that video. Jose Bazil, hey Barry, the issue here is not beneficial to them. That is the hatred. Patty again, the Desmiserables mind are going to explode constantly. Brian Newland, massive news. Thank you. Jennifer Nunn, thank you. I am Planet Hermit. Only Nixon could go to China. Spock, only Trump could make China come to him. Big, big thing. Now, somebody had said that I said that Z was coming. I didn't say that. It said someone, it might be a delegation. Maybe Z would come himself, but a delegation is coming from China is what's being reported. Jennifer Dunn, yeah, who blinked? Kim Stye, thank you. S. Cater, I've watched you from the beginning. You're doing such a good job, so much so I had to watch you as I was getting my root canal. I'm sorry to hear that. Always learning and watching you. Thank you. Where is the Trump knife made? I will have to find out. I wouldn't be surprised if it was made in China, because I know if you're e-commerce, you would order a whole bunch at a time, and so they may have ordered them in bulk. I'm not sure. I will find out. Tilly, I trust all decisions that President Trump makes. Granny Seitz, add 150 to my crypto. It's been going up all day. Very well. Pineapple Breeze, Trump is Robin Hood, robbing from the rich, giving opportunity for the poor. Bing time. Bingo. Fazul, they made Fazuls today. Steve James, please, Mr. President, I can't take winning anymore. We're going to have to get used to it. Be addicted to it. Captain Danny, I didn't make 8.2 million, but I made 8,000 days sober. Wow. Wow. Congratulations, brother. Congratulations. Mary Skelton, thank you. Mitch Lyons, thank you. Tania, to those who... Wait, where'd that go? Something happened. I skipped. Okay, Tania, Barry, from the interviews to your daily shows, you've really done a fantastic job. We're also proud of you, and we're happy to be here with you. Thank you. I love that you're here. Vincent Lemoine, Barry forgot our John Kennedy clip. The John Kennedy clip. Oh, you're absolutely right. I completely forgot John Kennedy. Here, let me just go ahead and do so.
These people are about 10 exits past normal. Look, you just got to try harder not to suck.
Oh, you're so right. Thank you for telling me that. Sandy M, what website do you use for stock gains and losses? You can just put in Google top gains, top losers for the day, top gainers for the day, and you're going to get the same information on any of those sites. Tin Lee, imagine not getting the list, dissatisfied, and vote Dems, not vote. Some people are born losers. Unfortunately, you're absolutely right. Some people are because the Democrats have infected them. Boom drummer. I bet Barry let Miranda talk longer than Hannity does. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to cut her off at every turn. Most of the people, I would say almost all of the people who come on here, sometimes Ashley has to tell them, hey, listen, Barry's going to talk to you. Because when they do the television hits on network, they'll come on television, and for the most, they may be on 5 or 6 minutes. Most are just boom, quick hits. Some are even shorter than that. And then obviously here we have them on for 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes sometimes. So it takes some getting used for them, and it helps because I try to plan questions so we're not just so if I have questions I can able to get information out of them. Some of you guys may have to send me shock notices or something, because if Laura Trump's out here, I may turn can I talk to your father-in-law, please? Okay, I understand that question. Can you put me in touch with your father-in-law? Or your husband? I'll take the husband. Have Eric give me a call. Love it. Patricia Kuhn, to those who caught the load, I bet they are feeling fantastic. I bet they are glad they have the job they have. I would feel on top of the world. She's talking about the Coast Guard people. Yeah, absolutely. And you get to use all your toys. But you get to use all your toys and you're doing stuff like that too, when you do a drug interdiction like that. Thornton Maloney, are you sure about the story about China wanting to come to the table? See it out there. I will, of course, look to verify it further, but I will do so. In fact, I'll look around tonight. Don't bet against the USA, NJ Sound LLC. Watched earlier 2 show on commute. Love winning. Thank you. And Barry, is John Bolton related to singer Michael Bolton when a man? Oh my goodness. Yeah. What losers these people are. What absolute unadulterated losers. I can't wait for... See, when we talk to the veteran biker, it's not going to be an interview. Just tell you that. Let you know. We're not going to be... he's not going to be answering questions. When he and I get on, just like when I did his show, we're just 2 guys talking. And we're just going to, hey, let's talk about this. And he's going to give his opinion, my opinion. So it's not really an interview. And it may go on for like an hour because it's 2 guys actually having a talk. And so he's very knowledgeable with his military knowledge and things of that nature. So, things like what we saw tonight with the drug interdiction with the Coast Guard, we can talk to him about that. We can talk to him about all kinds of things military, with Pete talking about doing things in the Panama Canal and lethality. See, I don't have a military background. My father, my brother, but, being able to talk to somebody in that regards. Very humble. Can I talk to your father? You think I'm kidding? Like, yeah, that was a great answer. Yeah. Can I talk to your father-in-law? Okay. And so, can you get your dad on? Your father-in-law on? I'd be so excited. Like I said, as of right now, it is set to go. But let's keep our fingers crossed. People like her have extremely busy schedules, and now that she's got her show on Fox, we'll see what happens there. All right, everybody, I think I covered everything. We'll see you guys early tomorrow afternoon, maybe noonish, maybe 1ish, depending on how her schedule and if everything goes the way it's supposed to. If not, I'll still be here. I'll be a little bit bummed. I may need you to pick me up. I might just, if you see me come on, I'm like, then you know what happened. I got bumped. I'm just not important enough. All right, everybody. Thank you for showing up for 2 shows. Looks like we've been together for about almost 7 hours today. I spent more time with you guys than I spent with the wife tonight. So I'm going to put on the after party and go spend some time with the wife before she goes to bed, because I don't want her feeling neglected. Love you guys for tuning in. Talk to you tomorrow.
you.